Hello, this is Brita Wynn, and I am here to do today's Ask a Witch. and Today we're going to talk about magical candle use. And as always, if you have questions or anything, just type your question in, and I can answer it while I'm online. As I had mentioned last week, and in the schedule, Ask a Witch is moved to Mondays at 1:30 or at 6:30. So that way I can do them in a more prepared fashion. It's difficult to do them on Wednesdays because I don't get back from my doctor appointments until like 5 minutes before, and that's just not enough time to really get prepared and ready emotionally and physically for the vlog. So today we're going to take a look at some candle use in magic. Using candles in magic is old. Candles have been used for magic probably as long as they've been used for light. When you look in really any church, you'll see candles. Candles are used for prayers and for wishes and things like that. In fact, having grown up Catholic, I still have a few things. Like I have this little candle of St. Jude, and I have kind of a soft spot in my heart for this guy because when I was teaching ESL in Sacramento, I had several classes of just Mexican students, and I was going through some stuff, and one of my students brought me a candle of St. Jude and said that St. Jude was the saint of difficult things and lost causes, and that if you burn a candle to St. Jude, that it'll help you resolve those. So that, and that's from the Catholic tradition. I will say this, we often think about these saints as being exclusively from the Catholic religion or exclusively from one kind of religion, and I can tell you that that's also not true. Things like saints and angels have been around as long as we've had ideas of divinity. If you look at some of the old archaeology, you'll see all kinds of examples of, gods and goddesses that are now called saints. Like Saint Bridget, for example, was the goddess Bridget before that, and Saint Foy in France was the goddess before that. So a lot of these things have been kind of co-opted. Some of them are actual people that lived. Some of them are divinities. Like I said, it's sort of like angels. You see depictions of winged human-like creatures and not so human-like creatures in tablets from ancient Sumeria, some 8,000 years old and older. These ideas are not new. So using candles for energetic use, magical use, prayers, that sort of thing it's a really old practice. So you can often find these kinds of things. That this one's kind of cute. I have had this one for a while, and I can't find the wick in it anymore. But I like the picture of it. It's a candle for prosperity, and it's got bags of money and dollar signs and a piggy bank and that kind of stuff. And it's pretty cool. One of these days I'll get in there and dig the wick out. But I don't use these too much anymore, and the reason I don't is because I make my own. And some of the ones that I've made over the years and even sold some of them are magical candles made from rolled beeswax. And so, for example, I have one here that's made, it has sandalwood in it, and it's a rolled candle that's white. And it's used for clearing, energy, blessing, sweetness, lightness, that kind of thing. This one here is Lang Lang, and it's for love and sweetness, and it's kind of got an aphrodisiac property to it. Essential oils have medicinal properties that can be very like magic, I think, in a lot of ways. This one is lavender, which is for detox, dreams, rest, and sleep. So there's a lot of different kinds of things that you can do. And you can make your own pretty easily. I mean, there's no reason why you need to buy a magical candle. If you go into shops and stuff, esoteric shops, they'll charge you, $8 to $10 for a candle that they've blessed and scented. And that's fine. I mean, I'm sure that the people who are doing it believe that are ethical and believe that what they're doing is helping. But I feel like it's sort of like when I grow my own food, when I make my own things, I know what's in them. It's kind of like that. When I do my own spiritual work, I like to know from start to finish the energy that went into it. And so I like to do my own magical candle making and magical candle preparation. So one of the places you can go and get candles to do this with is the dollar store. And I have this fabulous little candle here. It's a little paraffin candle with red. It smells kind of cinnamony. And I like that kind of smell, especially in the fall. But it's just a plain little candle, which is perfect because it has really no energy of its own. It's just a little device that I can set on fire. So, and that's important to recognize too, is that when we're working with candles, what we're really working with is the element of fire. And the element of fire is a strong mover of energy. You think about fire in all of its different incarnations. We've got fire that warms our homes. We've got fire that cooks our food. We've got fire that makes light bulbs work. We've got, fire that can burn down a forest. Fire is a very powerful energy, and it's a mover and a clearer of obstacles. And so when we light a candle, we're not just working with a candle, we're working with the element of fire. So it's important for us to remember that. So with this little candle here, I'm going to show you how easy it is to prepare your own candles for magic. And a lot of times you'll see people who are kind of witchy, on Facebook, they'll say things like, oh, please light a candle for me, or, please do a spell for me, or whatever. This is what they're talking about, is this sort of thing. So what I wanted to do as an example is a candle that is for loving energy. I've had a lot of nastiness directed at me in the last couple of months, and especially in the last few weeks. And I really need to deflect that, I think, with love. I think that, sending nastiness after nastiness is a waste of your time and energy. And all that does is beget more nastiness, which is not really the point of using magic. Magic is about transformation. It's about taking an energy and transforming it into something else. And so I want to take all this nastiness and transform it into love and abundance and joy and that sort of thing, so that we can, not be subjected to that, and also so that we can not send anything negative back out. So basically becoming a mirror made of love in the face of the nastiness that's coming in our direction. So I have a tool here that I'm going to use to write on the candle. You can use, if you have an athame, which is a ritual knife, you can use that. If you have a knife that you use for cutting herbs, you should probably just use it for that. But also people often have a little white-handled knife that they use for, if they don't use it for herbs, they use it for things like this. I like this because it's given to me by a friend. It's really pretty. It's got a little dragon and a pentacle, and it's got a crystal on the end, and crystals are great at directing energy, so I like to use it for things like this. It's kind of like my stand-in for my athame, because my athame is huge. Excuse me. I have an athame that was made for me by a wonderful priest in California, and it's made out of a stag's foot, and it's about that long. And so it's just a little big for carving on things. It's great for directing energy, though. So I have my carving tool, and I have my little candle. Okay. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little heart on here. Draw a heart on here. Okay. So that I can see that energy of love. And I'm going to write, reflect, love. I'm also going to write feel like drawn to write love bubble. And love bubble is like a circle of love around me to protect me from not very nice things. I'm also going to write joy on here. Okay. And I'm going to write happiness. And I'm going to write abundance. Okay, I'm going to put some more hearts. So like I said, I think the best way to combat ugliness is to just become a mirror of love. So I'm just going to be a mirror of love. Okay, so this candle is now covered in hearts and nice words and protective energy. So I'm going to brush off the excess wax, see the energy that is in there, okay? And then I have a nice oil that was given to me by a friend who made it, which is also called Love. It's given to me at camp this year. So I'm going to put some of that on the candle. And I'm going to rub it around. This oil is made by a friend of mine who owns a company called Spice of Life. And she makes some really lovely things. She was an herbalist student of mine years and years ago and has turned into one of the most amazing priestesses I've ever known. And so her energy is in here as well to help reflect love. Okay. And then you want to come up with some kind of a mantra, some kind of thing to say when you burn this candle, because it's kind of like, you know, when you do positive affirmations and you want to direct energy in a way that is going to help you, you can say things into a mirror or say things, you know, mantras that help your mind be focused on that. So I'm thinking that my mantra will be, my love is a bubble, my love is a mirror, you can't hurt me in here. My love is a bubble, my love is a mirror, you can't hurt me in here. My love is a bubble, my love is a mirror, you can't hurt me in here. My love is a bubble, my love is a mirror, you can't hurt me here. My love is a bubble, my love is a mirror, you can't hurt me here. And so I am going to light this candle now. If I can, actually. Light it. And let that energy spread out into the universe. If I can get it to light. There we go. So just like in church, when you know, would have a candle that you would light for a prayer, that's what this is. And my love is a bubble, my love is a mirror, can't be hurt in here. And that's my mantra that goes with this candle. So it has hearts on it, and it has wonderful affirmative words like joy and abundance and love and kindness. And these are the energies that I will only allow to come into my bubble. My bubble is a protective bubble, and it's here to keep me safe from ugliness that might be directed at me. So instead of putting a mirror really up like a regular mirror that would just reflect ugliness back, this is a mirror that's like a filter of love. So anything that comes to me is going to be filtered through love and sent back as love. And you know, it's hard for someone to continue to be mean when you just send love back. You know, it's hard for someone to harm you if everything they send at you is transformed into love. And so that's where my focus is going to go, and I'm going to put my energy into you know, protecting myself through a bubble of love, a shield of love. So It's pretty easy to prepare candles. When I did these ones that these candles here that were made from rolled beeswax, what I did instead of carving symbols into them is the beeswax comes in sheets, big sheets that are like 8 by 16, and you take a piece of wick cotton wick, and you soak it in an oil, an essential oil or a magical oil, and get that energy in there, and then you put it on the sheet of wax, and you sprinkle things on there that are herbs that have the energies that you want. Like, for example, if I was going to make one that is an abundance candle, I would soak the wick in probably cinnamon or cardamom or something like that, or bergamot, which is also considered an abundance herb. And then I would probably sprinkle powdered cinnamon on the inside of the sheet of wax. And then I would roll that up into a candle so that that energy is inside there. You could even, inside the candle if you wanted, if you just wanted it to be kind of a private thing, you could draw like dollar signs on there, with a small tool. This, like I said, is the tool that I use for carving candles because it directs energies, because it's got a crystal at the end of it. And then roll the candle up, and all that energy is inside there. And then when you get ready to light it, it releases that energy into the world. When I do a candle spell with a candle like this, what I like to do is focus on the candle flame and either say my mantra or focus on visualizing what I want to happen. I think it's really important to spend a little time with a candle. I know that the common practice in churches is to light the candle, say your prayer, and walk away. But I think it's really important to spend a little time meditating on what it is you're trying to accomplish. And so scrying or sending energy or visualizing, whatever you want to do with that candle flame, engaging that candle flame is important. And also remember, again, we're working with fire when we work with candles. We're not just working with a candle, it's not wax you're working with. It's the flame, the energy of fire that you're asking to promote what you want out into the universe. It's the energy that you want to send out there and, warm with or burn up or absorb or whatever. You can use candles in a lot of ways. One of the ways that I use candles in the past, I had a person come to me and they had some kind of an entity following them. And when I came in contact with it, I was very clear to me that it wasn't a person. It had never been in a body. It was some kind of, some kind of spirit that fed off of fear. And so it was constantly trying to scare her, and it would give her nightmares and things like that. I had been with her since she was a child. And so we talked about what we could do. And one of the things we did was we got a black candle and we charged it as a container. And we used the athame or sword to cut away its cording to her. And then once we had it loose from her, we took the blade and sent it into the candle. And it was very interesting because when we sent it into the candle, the flame kind of lifted up off the candle and sputtered and spit a bit. And then it settled back down, but burned really brightly, like way brighter than it had before we did that. But it also contained the spirit, and we then put the flame out to keep the spirit in and buried it in the ground. And she never had any problems with it anymore. So candles can be used for that sort of thing as well. I also use candles to as part of a cleansing ritual, like when you move into a new house or you want to cleanse a space that you think might have a spirit being there. You can use your candle as the element of fire and put light in all the dark corners of your house, like behind the doors and into drawers and into cabinets and things like that, so that all the element of fire and the aspect of light in all the dark corners helps to cleanse anything out of the house that might be negative or not positive for living there. So candles are used for a lot of that kind of thing. And as I said, for me, I like to make my own magical candles just in the same way I like to grow my own food. I like to know what was said, what energy went into that candle, what oils were used. I think for me it's partly about knowing what's going on there, but it's also partly about knowing, like being engaged in the magic. being engaged in the building of the momentum of the magic. Because when we do magic, we're moving molecules. Our minds create things, and when we create something in our mind, when we can see something in our mind, then the physical will follow that, and that's how we create the world. And if you think about, like, you can look at this a very real way, like look at all the clothing and houses and all the material things that we have. Some artists thought those up first and drew them on a piece of paper, and then they were turned into real things. And so the beginning of creation is in the mind, and so if we put that energy of what we want into that candle and then bless it and send it out into the world, it's the same kind of thing. We're creating with our mind's energy what we need and want in the world. And so candle magic is, I think, a pretty wonderful way to be able to do that. But it's also, it's really easy. And like I said, you can get candles a lot of places. Like, this little candle here is from the dollar store. It came in a pack of 4 that cost me $1. So I have 4 beautiful red candles that smell like cinnamon that I can use for candle magic or just for candle light. But it's so easy to do a candle spell. Why not charge your candles with things like love and protection and joy and happiness and whatever else it is you need. So candle magic is a thing that I've been doing for a long time. One of the candle magic spells that we did that was really fun is when we had a baby shower for Lily. When she was, before she was born, my midwife brought a great big candle that was, like a really tall candle. And everyone carved into it blessings for her. And so for a long time, like, I'm not sure where it is anymore, but until she was probably 14 or 15, we burned it every birthday to kind of re-energize all those blessings for her. And, it was really a beautiful tradition, I think. Especially, when she was little, and, when you have little kids, it's hard sometimes and stressful, and it was always a time for us to sit together and remember how lucky we were to have each other, and so that aspect of the candle was great. But what a wonderful thing to have your whole magical community put blessings on a candle for you. I think you could use something like this, if you had someone who needed healing, for example, like say someone has cancer or something like that, and have everybody in the community put blessings and love and healing, sigils on the candle, and then give it to them so that they can burn it and think of all the love and absorb all that energy from love. That's got to be very healing. So there's a lot of kinds of magic that you can use candles for, and it's pretty simple to prepare them. It's just a matter of being conscious of what you're doing and what kinds of oils you're using and what kinds of symbols you're using. I like to sometimes use things like runes. It depends. Runes are pretty intense energetically, and my son actually does a lot of stuff with runes and has a fabulous Patreon page where he's doing classes on rune meditations and talking about spirits, land spirits, and things like that. And he's really in connection with those things, and it's really wonderful to see that energy that he's using through that very, very ancient practice of using magical symbols from his ancestry. So sometimes that can be really great, but sometimes, it's like when people write, I always thought this was a funny thing, when people will write in Latin on a candle or in some other language. I'm like, what, do you think the gods don't understand English? I think you can write whatever you want, in whatever language you want. The gods, I think, my opinion of gods is that they're able to understand whatever you say, however you say it. I think it's respectful, depending upon the god that you're working with, to be able to communicate with them in a way that is respectful. Like, it might not be a bad idea if we could, to communicate with Isis in ancient Egyptian, but who knows ancient Egyptian? So, if you don't know ancient Egyptian, I think English will work. Because I think Isis is very present, and I think she does hear your prayers. And so it doesn't really matter what language you say them in. I think that it's a matter of, communion with divinity. So at this point, we have about 6 minutes left, and I was wondering if anybody has any questions about candle magic, or if there's anything that I didn't cover that they would like me to cover, or if they have any comments or anything on it. Feel free to go back through and watch it again. There's some stuff we talked about in terms of using candles and things like that historically, at the beginning of the video. And of course, I'll be posting it on Patreon. I have all of the Ask a Witch broadcasts of the past on Patreon, and I think they're all in HD, so they're easier to stream from there. So if you want to watch them, you can. It's just patreon.com/CroneWitch with a Y. And you'll find me there, and all the free stuff is there. And of course, Ask a Witch is always free. And then there's, of course, other things on there too, like Walking the Sacred Wheel videos and farm blogs, Sacred Gaia farm blogs, and things like that that are part of the subscription. But you can go on there and watch Ask a Witch without signing up for anything. So if you want to watch them there, or you want to watch them on YouTube, that's totally fine too. Always under Crone Witch. I've had Crone Witch as my name for a long time. So any questions or thoughts or anything? Nothing? All right then, my dears. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the vlog today. And next week we'll be doing another one. I'm going to go into a controversial topic next week, sacred sex, because I think it needs to not be quite so controversial. I also think we need to differentiate the difference between sacred sex and what some people consider to be okay behavior that's not okay behavior. So I'm going to talk about that next week. And so hopefully if you have time, you can tune in, and we'll talk about things like the Great Rite and traditions of that sort, and, responsible use and all of that. So it was really nice to be here, and I will see you all next Monday. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Blessed be.